Hi guys, and welcome back to the In the Hub podcast, brought to you by Playbox Technology UK. On this week's episode, we're talking to Sanjeev Bhavnani, Executive Director at Advanced Television. Sanjeev has represented the Advanced Television brand since 2003, overseeing some major changes in the way that media organisations deliver the news that matters to us. Today, we dig a little deeper into some of those changes, whilst also covering the benefits that media coverage holds for companies in the broadcasting industry. Hope you enjoy. So welcome to the In the Hub podcast this morning, Sanjeev. How are you doing today?
I'm very well, Neil. Good morning. How are you?
Yes, not too bad. Thank you, mate. Not too bad. Again, thank you so much for joining us this morning. So just before we do kind of get started into some of that, Sanjeev, how did you personally come to be involved in the broadcasting industry? Where did it all start for you?
Well, Neil, firstly, thank you so much for the invitation, for inviting me to join the podcast, and hello everybody at home or in their office. So I personally became involved in the broadcast industry not through design, Neil. I had done a basic business studies undergraduate degree in London, and it was very generic. So there was lots of topics around running a business. So as you can imagine, around finance, around human resources, around marketing. Nothing media related at all. But it did give me an insight in how commerce works, and I just applied for a job, as one did in those days, which was Monday's Guardian. So Monday's Guardian was the reference point for jobs in media, because they used to have a Monday weekly job supplement, which was quite focused on media. So I had a flick through there. I got attracted by the full page color glossy ads that were in there. I think that was when newspapers started to have the ability to run color advertisements. Yes. So it did catch my eye as a young person. Color is important. Yeah. So I got attracted to some advertisements in that week's edition. One of them was for the Financial Times Media and Broadcast division, which is down in London. I applied. I went for an interview, and then I was offered a position. So that was my first entry into the marketplace.
Yeah. So obviously it wasn't this grand plan for you. It's not something that you'd been dreaming of since you were a kid or anything like that. It was more this kind of drive for business.
No, yeah. I did come from a family that was very interested in news. So both my grandparents and my parents were very interested in watching the news, and also taking it that sort of one step further with programs such as Question Time and Newsnight, and those sort of like political analysis of what was happening in the news. So I sort of grew up with that around me. So, but it certainly wasn't an ambition of mine when I was young to get into the news industry.
So for anyone who doesn't already know, Sanjeev, that's obviously led you up to the point of being at Advanced Television and setting that up. For anyone who doesn't already know, what is Advanced Television as a website or a publication?
Yeah, so advancedtelevision.com is, or in fact, at the time was Europe's first B2B electronic news platform for the broadcast industry. So, very, very privileged, very proud to say that and share that with everybody. It's a news and analysis site looking at the whole of the digital media delivery food chain. It's content related, it's technology related, it's strategy related. So it has a very deep overview of what, from a top-down perspective, of what is happening in our industry. And we have a great team, very experienced team, over 120 years of experience in our sector as part of our team. So I'm very, very privileged to be part of that. And we're always innovating as well. So we've embraced digital through having a .tv, advanced television.tv, which is a platform for all of the great video content that we generate in our sector, via interviews, via webinars, via roundtable sessions, exec one-to-ones, etc., etc. So
yeah, I mean, it's become this kind of thing that even as a company, if we want to know what trends are going on, what's the latest in the industry, it's very much a case of popping, the letters A and D into the search bar on Google Chrome.
Yeah.
And then it automatically taking us to advanced television, essentially,
yeah.
And browsing the articles there. So I think it's really great what you guys have done there.
Thank you.
And then personally, Sanjeev, with well over 18 years of experience at advanced television for you,
yeah.
What are those kind of major ways that you've seen media coverage change in broadcasting? So whether that's the technology in which it's delivered or anything like that.
Yeah, well, we've obviously followed trends from other sectors in terms of how executives follow content in their specific arenas, and the advent of the internet, of course, back in those days was a game changer, and the speeds around connectivity, because then we weren't sort of dialing up. Yes. We had broadband. So that has obviously made us more nimble, agile in terms of delivering timely information, real time to the marketplace. Obviously, we have the daily newsletter which goes out every day, but also our site is continually updated real time around the clock. We have correspondents in different parts of the world on different time zones. So obviously, in order for us to do that, we've had to have the technology to support that, and trends and habits have changed as well. So back in the launch days, it was very much around print, and then it became very much into a form of digital, and then it became very seamless that our subscribers were keen to digest more and more online. So we followed that trend, and we've serviced that trend, and here we are today.
Yeah, 100%. And you did mention print there, essentially that being this kind of main form of news coverage and that main medium. Not even that long ago. It's maybe about 10 years ago or so.
Yeah.
Do you think that there is kind of still a strong market for direct mail and print-based media in our industry, and why do you think that?
Certainly, Neil. I mean, we obviously, as you may know, published Euromedia magazine, which is a print magazine, which we started in '99. We have continuously published that title since launch. Over that period, there's still a big need for it in terms of the physical distribution that we have at our industry trade shows. There's also a digital overload, as we all know. Yes. And so the ability to pick up reference material, industry material, something that you can touch, feel, and smell, is very, very much back in vogue, you could say, because there's a need for it, because there's not a lot of it out of there, so it's a rare commodity. And when we're talking about deep technology and all of the explanation that comes with explaining the great work that the technologists in our industry are doing, having that in a physical form, in a graphical form, on paper, is definitely a very subtle form of learning, and this is why in the education sector, there's still textbooks being produced, because you can go, they're reference points, and there's also the ability to pass the information down to colleagues and to peers as well. So in a large company, obviously we're in a stage where large companies are not congregating in big buildings or offices anymore, but in large companies, some of the big broadcasters that took subscription to Euromedia, it would be in the foyer, it would be in the lobby, it would be in their communal areas where people would congregate. And I was very pleased to visit so many broadcasters around the world in my time, and see my publication on the coffee table, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's been such a great feeling, and yeah, I completely agree. I think there's something a lot more substantial, a lot more tangible about obviously having a print-based magazine. And that's a really good point about the textbooks there, because it's not so long ago I graduated from university,
Right.
And it was still textbook mania over there. Everyone had to have the textbook, and yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
So Sanjeev, what are those kind of main benefits that you would say of press coverage for businesses in our sector?
Well, I mean, it's the power of the pen. I mean, ultimately, we like other suppliers are tracking listed companies who are trading on various stock indexes. So the ability to comment, the ability to relay, share that information in whichever form, print, social, online, whichever, gives us the ability to represent that content and give our comment on it. So it's an important platform for companies, small, medium, and large, to portray their message to the marketplace. And ultimately, we're neutral, we're reliable sources, and so we are very uniquely positioned to portray that content and that news and that analysis. So it's very much here to stay. We see that through the pandemic, with our site breaking all sorts of records in terms of visitors and unique visitors, page opens, banner click-throughs, all of that. And so very important, because obviously it becomes a marketplace in itself. Having all of this news, having all of these brands discussed and analyzed in the same place. It also gives with all the news around fake news, it's always good to have B2B entities like this, like ours, that can portray that in a neutral way.
Yeah. No, I really don't think it can be underestimated, especially during COVID. A lot of people relied on these kind of websites for news and to find out what was going on with companies, if they're making statements and things like that, whether they're going to trade shows and things like that. I really don't think it could be underestimated, like just how much of a hub these websites become in our industry. Yeah. It's really fantastic stuff. And then Sanjeev, this is a question that we ask at the end of every podcast. Some people find it a little bit harder than others. But if you could sum it up in one word, what do you envision for the future of the broadcasting industry?
Right, so crystal ball time. Change. That is the key word. That is the change. We know our sector has gone very much from a physical environment to a cloud environment, real time. We can see that through the record-breaking stats of some of the SVOD platforms that are out there, and it's definitely changing, but it's changing for the good also. So there's more and more focus around producing great content, original content, because viewers are, viewers are very picky and they have a lot of choice. So content producers have to acknowledge that and carry on creating great content.
Yeah, no, I think you're in a really unique position as well, Sanjeev, and you guys at Advanced Television, because you can see all of this change coming in the form of obviously news coverage and press releases and things like that. So you've almost got this kind of first-hand look at what's going on in the industry, and you guys are obviously pushing that to the broadcasting industry as well. So I think that's absolutely brilliant stuff. So Sanjeev, obviously, thank you for joining me today. I really do appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Are there any exciting plans in the pipeline for Advanced Television that you can talk to us about today?
We are going to be hosting a cloud provision virtual roundtable in November. We see that as a topic of great interest to the marketplace, and we will be relaying information on that as we approach the time. Please do look at it. Please do register for that. There's lots of forthcoming webinars with some very interesting companies on some very interesting topics. But anyone that's not already subscribed, it's a free subscription. Please do visit the site, and we'll be glad to welcome you to our hub.
Yeah, and then how can people get in touch with you directly if they want to inquire about anything, any press coverage, any of these kind of webinars and roundtables?
Sure, you can contact me directly at Sanjeev at advanced-television.com, but it's also listed on the About Us section of the site.
Yep, awesome, Sanjeev. So what I'll do is I'll link to your website, potentially your email as well, in the podcast description. So anyone on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, head to the description and you can find the information there.
Perfect.
So thank you very much again, Sanjeev, for your time this morning. I know you're a very busy man. I really do appreciate it.
That's okay. All the best.
Cheers, Sanjeev.
Thank you.